start the evening off by welcoming you to our 2016 Annual Police Memorial Week Awards. On behalf of Chief Coffey and the administrative staff, the supervisors, and the men and women of this department, both past and present, and that's an important consideration. Monsignor Mannion has been a tremendous asset to law enforcement. He is one of the best people I've ever met. He's a very understanding man, and he sees fit every year to come here and give us his time to say a few words and give us an invocation prior to our ceremony. Monsignor?
It was either be here or get chased around NAFAC down near Atlantic City with a bunch of marshals training with Navy SEALs. So it was much easier coming here, trust me. I wanted to share this little story, Captain, we talked about.
Yes.
Anybody here know Ron Conley, Sergeant Ron Conley, Camden PD a couple years ago? Do you know Ron? Ron, I got to know when he was just beginning to get sick, and he was really a character. You know, he'd say to a guy, "I heard you lost 35 pounds." The guy says, "Yeah." He says, "If you look behind you." You know, that was Ron's humor, and the Camden guys asked me to kind of track him, and it turned out that he developed a glioblastoma, brain cancer. And I grew up here in Pennsauken on 45th Street. My dad developed glioblastoma, and he was dead in 3 months. So when they asked me to track Ron in this illness, I kind of knew he was heading into a storm, not just as a police chaplain, but I knew it as a son in terms of my own dad's situation. And the last 3 months visiting him just about every day, the Camden cops would take me up to see him at his sister's house in Mount Holly. I don't know if I was visiting him for him or for me, because I learned an awful lot from him. And one of the things I learned is when he said to me, Father Mike, and I've been teaching at the academy the last 12 years. He said, tell the guys never to trade their humanity for their badge. Never to trade their humanity for their badge. And I thought that was a wise saying, but everything to hang it on. And then at the viewing, 1,000 people on a rainy night, and this one guy, I just saw him in the line, went up, said, "Hi, how are you? Do you know Ron?" He says, "Well, not really." I said, "Well, why would you come out in a night like this if you didn't know him that well? Stand in line in the rain for an hour, and then in the church for an hour, and then family doesn't know you for 3.4 seconds. You look at the casket, and you see Ron, and you see the family, keep going." And 10 years ago yesterday, he died. So I shared this story with his sister yesterday, ironically enough. But he said, "Well, Ron arrested me and put me in jail for 7 years." I said, "He what?" He says, "Yeah, he put me in jail for 7 years, arrested me. But I'm cuffed in the back of the car, and he's talking to me about my life and my family and my history and who I am." He said, "You're better than this. You're better than what you just did. And you can do better in your life." And he elaborated on that. He said, "I never forgot that. It had a lot to do with why when I got out of prison I decided to get my act together. And that's why I'm here tonight, to thank him." And so to all the officers here and the families, your husbands, your wives are going to retire someday. And if law enforcement becomes the total identity and humanity is lost, law enforcement, the department, the community, and the person lose out. But when it's integrated, it's a very, very special gift, continuing to the family, continuing to the community, and continuing to one's God. So as I say this little prayer, say a prayer for Ron too. Let us pray. Lord our God, those receiving these awards tonight for doing the right thing sometimes when no one is looking, which is really a definition of integrity, doing the right thing when no one's looking. But we give you thanks for what they've done, Lord. And so many others that are not here, whose valorous deeds are known only to you, God, and the person, him or herself. We thank you for those that have come, for the families that support them. We thank you that the culture of family and faith and commitment that led these officers and civilians to do what they do makes this town, this community, these families, better place, better people. Bless them, Lord, this night as they come forward, and let them know they walk not alone, but with the encouragement and support of those that share this room with them. And may that always be the case all the days of their lives. And we pray they might always act justly, love tenderly, and walk humbly with you, their God. Amen. Thank you. We'll now have a collection.
I personally enjoy this evening. I say this every year, but I personally enjoy this evening, and it's with great pride that the administration of this police department recognizes the daily efforts of officers who sometimes work under very difficult circumstances and face a number of obstacles and still manage to overcome them and do so in a professional manner. That is definitely not lost on us or the citizens. We're going to be giving out a number of awards tonight. We're going to give them to officers, but we're going to give them to residents as well. The reason we're going to do that is you'll not only see the dedication of the officers, but also the partnership that we enjoy with the residents of this town. Whenever we need them, the residents never fail us, and they know that they can count on us as well, and that will never change, not as long as there's a Pennsauken Police Department and a Pennsauken Township. It also bears mentioning that the elected officials tonight couldn't attend because they do have their scheduled meeting, and there was a conflict. So they're doing the business of the township while we're doing our business here. The theme here tonight, and you'll see it over and over, is teamwork. It's partnership. Yes, we'll talk about heroism and we'll talk about courage under fire, but by and large, these officers remain safe and are able to do their jobs because they work very, very well together. I've said it a number of times. The officers in Pennsauken, I would stack up against any officers that I've met in any department in this state or anywhere else. We have a number of officers that are patrolmen who certainly could be supervisors, not only in this department, but most other departments as well. In 2009, we went about correcting or modifying or consolidating the way we gave out awards. We came up with a department policy. We have a department policy for everything, but we came up with a written directive for our awards ceremony. We have a permanent awards committee made up by rank, not by name, but whoever fills these positions mans the awards committee every year. And we went about trying to memorialize our officers that have given, the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. It's often said that every officer gives something, but some officers give everything. Along those same lines, we remember Officer Richard Dawson, who was a traffic officer in this township. I had the pleasure of knowing Rich Dawson. He was critically injured and suffered for the majority of his life from the injuries he sustained responding to a call in this town. So he made a tremendous sacrifice. But the way I knew Rich Dawson, he was always very proud of what he did. Then there's George Bowman. George Bowman, when I got here, was more myth than man. He was larger than life. He was an FOP president of the highest degree. He was a man that could be counted on as being fearless and also being a leader, best way to put it. We are fortunate tonight to have George Bowman's son, Jeffrey, here. Jeffrey's a New Jersey State Trooper, and he's one of our family. George will always be with us, and Jeffrey will always be a member of this family. And then there's William Bray, who one day in May left where he was when he received the call and went to a routine call of a disturbance. Kids playing on a roof. What he didn't know is that in minutes he'd be dead. When he entered the residence, he was ambushed and attacked by a knife-wielding 17-year-old. And I sat through every day of the trial, and it was testified to by a doctor that it was very likely that the very first knife wound he sustained was fatal. He was stabbed in the side of the neck. Even though he received mortal wounds, he not only continued to fight, he wounded one of the suspects and killed the other one. The way he behaved and the way he acted on that day still serves to this day as inspiration for everybody that wears this badge. We also will be giving out the Chief's Award for Leadership. I doubt that I could ask anybody in this audience to raise their hand if they've never seen Chief Coffey walking around town at night with his police radio or coaching kids on a baseball field or a soccer field or whatever the case may be. So we have a award for leadership that we give to officers that follow in those footsteps and live that kind of a life. And tonight we have a very special one. We will also give out Citizens Awards. And the Citizens Awards are very special to us. When we sit down, it is amazing. It never fails to amaze me how the members of the awards committee can recall the names and dates, or approximate dates, when a resident did something that was above and beyond what residents normally do, which is call us and watch. These people actually got involved. They became part of our partnership. We also have an award that is very interesting in the way it's given, Officer of the Year. We put out a ballot and we ask for supervisors to give us 3 nominees of officers that they feel meet a certain criteria. And the criteria is very hard. It involves everything from leave time to internal affairs complaints to quality of the reports and the way they leave their police cars at the end of their tour. It's all-encompassing. From that, we tabulate the nominees, and then we create a ballot with the top 3 names, and we put it back out to the rank and file, who literally vote for their own coworker as Officer of the Year. And I think that gives it an especially legitimate air. So what I'll do without too much further is I'll explain to you what the awards represent. First, we're going to give the Richard Dawson Awards, the awards given in his name. And I'll explain what the criteria is, and then we'll go about bestowing them to the officers. Officer Evans. All right, the Richard Dawson Award is presented annually to an officer who demonstrates exemplary performance of duty, goes above and beyond what might suffice, and the effort results in an arrest, a seizure of contraband, or other actions that bring credit to the Pennsauken Police Department and earns the respect of his or her peers. Officer Brian Evans, on September 26, 2015, you observed a male walking in the 3800 block of Marlton Pike. The male was carrying 2 iMac computers and a computer bag. The male was acting suspiciously while carrying these items, and you conducted a pedestrian stop to investigate. While you were on the pedestrian stop, a burglary, which had just occurred, was discovered at 7070 Colonial Highway. Through the investigation, it was determined that the items being carried away by the pedestrian were the proceeds from that burglary, and the male was the suspected actor. This led to the male being charged with burglary, theft, and criminal mischief to the business. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. Eric Coupler. Eric Coupler was the first guy in uniform here tonight besides myself and Lieutenant Hartnett. And he was sitting down, but I think he succumbed to the pressure of everybody standing up in the back. How long have you been here, Eric?
Be 3 years in July, sir.
Okay. I have shoes older than that, Eric. All right. Officer Eric Coupler, on March 6, 2016, you conducted a motor vehicle stop of a suspicious vehicle at Penn Garden Apartments. The rear passenger exited the vehicle and attempted to walk away. You instructed him to return to the vehicle, and he complied. During your investigation, you detected the odor of raw marijuana. At the time, the passenger fled on foot. You gave chase and observed him discard a quantity of illegal narcotics. You apprehended the male and recovered a total of 46 bags of heroin packaged for distribution and a quantity of marijuana. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. Again, officer just doing his job. Next thing you know, suspect who's guilty of something takes off running, and another drug dealer's off the street. Good job, Eric. Yeah, that's fine. I'll do this one. You guys can do this. Oh. Officer Gavin Rosner. It just goes to show you how things run in families. Gavin's grandfather was a police officer here, and as a matter of fact, if I could tell you a quick story about Bob Rosner, and it's appropriate during Police Memorial Week. My father was in the hospital receiving bypass surgery when I was in my own little world, and I hear, "Tommy, Tommy," and I turn around, and it's Bob Rosner being wheeled into the emergency room to have his own bypass. Now, this is a man that ran Cooper River, walked Cooper River, was still the strongest guy in the police department 10 years after he retired. And he said to me, "Come and see me. I'll be back in there in a couple hours." And that was Bob Rosner. So Gavin's got obviously good heritage, good lineage. Officer Gavin Rosner, on March 26, 2016, you conducted a motor vehicle stop of a suspicious vehicle in the area of Frosthofer on Route 130. This area has received complaints from residents for subjects congregating in the area involved in possible criminal activity. You observed a large group of males outside the vehicle involved in a disturbance and investigated it. During your investigation, you found a black handgun in the rear of the vehicle. This led to an arrest of 4 males. The handgun was determined to be an imitation gun, which was painted to appear realistic and for the potential furtherance of criminal activity. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. Oh, yeah. Okay, the Richard Dawson Award for Outstanding Performance of Duty is awarded to Lieutenant James Hartnett, who on May 30th, 2015, responded for a report of a motor vehicle crashing involving an ATV in the area of Cove Road and River Road. You coordinated the investigation at the scene of the crash. A call of a shooting went out several blocks away. The driver of the ATV was transported to the hospital where he died from his injuries. You detained 2 other males at the scene who lied about their involvement in the crash. You were transporting the males to police headquarters, and you were advised that the actors in the shooting were operating an ATV. You became suspicious that the males you were transporting were those males. At police headquarters, you conducted a search for weapons and located a Kel-Tec 9mm handgun on one of the actors. Your investigation determined the actors in the crash were responsible for the shooting, and you are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. Just a word about this. This is very similar to a lot of jobs that go out. He has one thing, and it leads to something else, but he's already dealing with the suspects at the time. And that's why when officers on the street encounter people, they can never take for granted that they're giving them the real story.
Officer Jody Pasquale. On March 14, 2016, you conducted a motor vehicle stop in the 7500 block of Route 130. You had previously observed the vehicle near a municipal park at Woodland Avenue and Harris Avenue. You smelled the odor of burnt marijuana emanating from the vehicle. You conducted a search which yielded 33 vials of marijuana, totaling 2.32 ounces. This led to the driver being charged with distribution of a controlled dangerous substance. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty.
Jody's also a former Officer of the Year, so.
Officer Ryan Hurley. On September 26, 2015, you conducted a motor vehicle stop of a vehicle in the area of Route 130 and Marlton Pike. The driver quickly exited the vehicle. You instructed him to remain in his vehicle, and he complied. During your investigation, you detected the odor of burnt marijuana. You conducted a search of the vehicle and located a Springfield .45 caliber handgun loaded with hollow point bullets. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. Just a note, Officer Pasquale and Officer Hurley were both candidates for the Officer of the Year. Officer Craig Adair. Officer Adair is one of our canine officers. I think his dog's about as vicious as they come, but he keeps them pretty well in control for the most part. I think the residents might complain about the dog barking all night, though, but one of the best dogs we have. On December 19, 2015, you assisted a burglary investigation at 7533 Route 130. The suspect had broken into a occupied temporary mobile home in the parking lot and fled on foot. With your canine partner, you were able to track the suspect on Kane Avenue towards the bridge into Camden City. Your canine partner stopped his track in the area of the bridge, and the suspect was not in view. Due to dangerous terrain and the Cooper River flowing underneath, it was not safe for your partner to go under the bridge. You went under the Kane Avenue Bridge alone and located the suspect hiding where the canine track had ended. The suspect was taken into custody without incident. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. Just a quick note with this job. His dog went to this location. He was adamant that he knew the suspect was there. I was on this job. He waited, went down underneath the bridge, stayed there for a period of time. This wasn't within a minute he found this guy. And he was tenacious that he wanted to catch this guy. He ended up finding him himself by waiting underneath this bridge alone, standing there.
Thanks. To wear it every day.
Officer Juan Rivera. On June 2nd, 2015, you observed a male running in the area of Browning Road and Garfield Avenue. You noticed that the male was running with the carrying case for a shotgun and appeared to be trying to conceal the weapon. The male entered a vehicle and you conducted a motor vehicle stop. The male was nervous and upon your questioning confessed to possessing a 12-gauge shotgun. You located a UTAS 12-gauge shotgun in the trunk of the vehicle and the male was charged with unlawful possession of a firearm, and you are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. Sergeant Bevins, Charles Bevins, and Officer Aaron Goodwater. I'll read these both individually. Sergeant Charles Bevins, on March 12, 2016, you assisted Officer Goodwater with a motor vehicle stop in Cove and Wyndham Road. The vehicle had an odor of raw marijuana emanating from the front passenger compartment. You assisted with detaining the occupants and searching the vehicle. Discovered inside the vehicle were a loaded .380 caliber CTS handgun and 42 jars of marijuana. This investigation led to the occupants being charged with the weapons offense and distribution of a controlled dangerous substance. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. Okay. And Officer Aaron Goodwater on the same stop that you conducted on March 12, 2016 at Cove and Wyndham Road for a minor motor vehicle offense. During your investigation of the motorist, you detected the odor of raw marijuana emanating from the passenger compartment. You detained the occupants and conducted a search of the vehicle. Discovered inside the vehicle were a loaded .380 caliber CTS handgun and 42 jars of marijuana. This investigation led to the occupants being charged with weapons offenses and distribution of a controlled dangerous substance. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. This was another stop that was legitimately, I believe, an equipment violation.
Yes, sir.
And we teach guys, and Officer Goodwater has been a very experienced veteran officer who understands that something as minor as that can always lead to something, and this is an example of an equipment violation for a motor vehicle stop leading to a wonderful arrest.
One further word about that is sometimes it gets lost, but Detective Sergeant Olivo has come up here anyway, and it's a good time to bring this up. Lots of times the work that Officer Goodwater or Officer Rivera might do on the street, or any officer, will end up on Sergeant Olivo's desk. At that point in time, he may decide it's going to go further, and it'll be an investigation, and that one arrest can lead to other arrests. So that's typically how that works. Sergeant Olivo is going to read the awards for his investigative personnel.
Detective Paul McCausland. On March 24th, 2016, you responded to a residence on Camden Avenue to investigate a residential burglary. A suspect vehicle had been developed through the initial investigation, and you directly responded to the address of the vehicle's owner in Camden City. When you arrived at the suspect's residence, your investigation and observations at the residence led to the immediate discovery of the stolen proceeds within the subject's residence. Your timely investigation prevented any delays and eliminated chances that the stolen property could be moved or sold. As a result, the victim had their property returned the same day. You're hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. Detective Erica Long. January 11th, 2016, you began an investigation into a male who groped a female on her buttocks and genital area in the area of Sycamore Ridge apartment complex. There were several incidents of lewdness, criminal sexual contact, and peering that reported in that area. Through your investigation, you identified, located, and charged the suspect who lived in the area. Your investigation led to the suspect being charged with criminal sexual contact, simple assault, and harassments. Since the arrest, there have been no more reported incidents in that area. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. Detective Brian Pulaski. Okay, you're getting too far. During January of 2016, you conducted a long-term narcotics investigation on a subject who resides in Camden City. During your investigation, you observed the hand-to-hand narcotic sales from the suspect's vehicle. Your investigation led to the arrest of the male and seizure of over a half ounce of crack cocaine and a half ounce of heroin. The narcotics were located hidden in a compartment within the vehicle and packaged for street-level sales. In addition to the narcotics, you also seized currency used in the sales of the narcotics. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. This one here has to do with a search warrant. There's a lot of work goes into a search warrant. Example of determination, because the first time we hit the house, we didn't get anything. We still had complaints. It was a problem house. He kept working at it, and then we finally got some stuff out of it. It was a good job. On May 18th, 2015, you executed a search warrant at a residence with the Township of Pennsauken. The search warrant was the culmination of a long-term narcotics investigation you conducted at that residence. While executing the search warrant, you were able to seize a loaded Walther P38, 380 caliber handgun, heroin package for street-level sales, and manufacturing and packaging materials. 4 individuals were charged with unlawful possession of a handgun and distribution of narcotics. As a result of your investigation, you are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty.
Officer Ryan Hurley and Officer Mike Pennington. The Richard Dawson Award for Outstanding Performance of Duty is given to Officer Ryan Hurley and Officer Mike Pennington, who, on September 27, 2015, stopped a motor vehicle at Route 130 in Marlton Pike. Again, there was an odor of marijuana coming from the passenger compartment. The driver attempted to conceal contraband in the vehicle and needed to be secured. You detained the occupant and conducted a search. Inside the vehicle, you located a scoped rifle, and the rifle was fashioned and carried in a manner for the furtherance of criminal activity. In addition, there was a quantity of marijuana located inside the vehicle. Your investigation led to the occupants being charged with weapons offenses and possession of a controlled dangerous substance. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. We're going to go a little bit out of order. Your brother? Yeah. Stephen Pennington. Oh yeah, there's a resemblance. Oh, yeah. Okay, stand over here. All right. Go a little bit out of order since I can have the brothers stand up here together. Stephen Pennington is receiving a Citizens Award for assisting us in a job. On April 14th, 2016, you were parked in the parking lot of the pub restaurant. You observed the male break the rear window of a customer's vehicle and commit a burglary to that vehicle. You called the police immediately and made observations of the male until the police arrived, basically guiding us. Prior to police arrival, the male fled on foot in the parking lot. When police arrived, you described the male and showed the path on which he fled. Due to your observations and willingness to become involved in the prevention of a burglary, the male was located by police hiding in an adjacent wooded area. The male was ultimately charged with burglary and criminal mischief. Your actions go above and beyond a civilian's duty to assist the police. Your initiative and help are greatly appreciated. Thanks very much. Sergeant Salzback and Officer Mike Biazzo. Officer Biazzo and Sergeant Salzback are receiving the Richard Dawson Award for Outstanding Performance of Duty on August September 25th, 2015, you observed the vehicle being operated in an unsafe manner on Route 130. You conducted a motor vehicle stop with the vehicle on Route 130 and Cove Road, and your investigation determined that the driver was impaired and he was arrested for DWI. A further investigation led to the discovery of a quantity of illegal narcotics and a loaded .380 semi-automatic handgun inside the vehicle. You're hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty. Sergeant Salzback, again receiving the Richard Dawson Award for Outstanding Performance of Duty. I'm sure everybody in this room as a resident of Pennsauken has had some dealing with Sergeant Salzback over the years. He basically is all things traffic in this town. Everything from stop signs to DWI enforcement. During a hit-and-run pedestrian fatality with criminal implications, Sergeant Salzback, along with officers under his command, played intricate parts in the overall investigation and apprehension of the suspect. Sergeant Salzback was able to make contact with the owner in the hit-and-run vehicle. His conversations with the owner ultimately led to identification and arrest of the driver in Camden City. Sergeant Salzback then coordinated the overall investigation between the traffic division, patrol section, and it led to charges being filed against the driver. You are hereby commended for your outstanding performance of duty, which is basically just another day. Now, Sergeant Salzback will talk about the other officers involved in this. Some of you may remember this tragedy. The kid that was hit, the young man that was hit on Route 130 near the Burger King of 48th Street, not that long ago, it was on the news. These guys brought that case to an end within 18 hours. So if not for their diligent work right away, we may never have had a driver for that car. And the family of the victim and the boy himself deserve that.
These are all the officers that helped out that night. And
Want to call them all?
as the captain put it, really, bring them all up. Officer Sampson, Officer Moles, Officer Ryan Hurley, Officer Mark Bristow. The captain led off this night by saying this is teamwork, and this job exemplified teamwork. As he said, we had a 16-year-old boy killed on Route 130 at 11 o'clock at night, and we had no driver, no vehicle, and we had no leads. I mean, nothing at all. Not even, no roadway marks, no nothing. And I get it. The communications called me and they said, as we're investigating it, they called me and they actually said, we have the owner of that vehicle on the phone, but she doesn't know where she's at. She's 19 years old. So I said, try to ping the phone. In other words, try to find out where she's at, and give her my phone number, and I need her phone number. They hung up, and I called her back right away, and she was in a bathroom of some house in Camden. She had no idea where she was from, She was from Pennsylvania. She had no idea where she was at the time. I told her to stay on the phone with me as they got location. I think it was 29th and Clinton. We all ended up going to, all of us guys here, including Lieutenant Hartnett. And the 19-year-old girl was scared because the driver of the car was her aunt, about a 40-year-old, 50-year-old aunt. And they were telling her how to burn the car and report it stolen because of this, crash, horrific crash. And we all responded to that in different functions. And I told her when we get close, I want her to come out, just run out the house. And Lieutenant Hartnett and myself pulled up. We saw the damaged car. Officer Hurley and Bristow were already there. I told them that they were taking places around the back in case these people ran. She came out the front door and spoke with us, and the driver went out the back door and was apprehended by these guys over here. Officer Sampson, Officer Moles, they investigated the crash. We ended up charging her, and she went to jail that night on $200,000 bail, and she's still in there today right now waiting hearing.
I had the opportunity of meeting several very nice people tonight, but I had the opportunity of meeting a hero. Joe, come up here, please. Joe Allen. It is a pleasure, sir. Before I give you his award, let me tell you a little bit about Joe. Joe's not only a World War II veteran, but he served in the U.S. Marine Corps, and he was active during World War II. He participated in battle campaigns at Guadalcanal, Guam, and Iwo Jima. Maybe you've heard of those. With the 3rd Marine Division, He was awarded 2 Presidential Unit Citations and 1 Navy Unit Citation from 1943 to 1945. Okay. Joe wasn't done in World War II. Joe's still helping us. On December 2nd, 2015 at 2 a.m., Joe, 2 a.m.?
I had to go to the bathroom.
Good, all right, that's good. You observed a male circling your neighborhood in a vehicle and then park on a street nearby. You then observed the male exit the vehicle and walk behind the residence at 4601 Arison Court. You knew this male not to live in the home and you notified police. You continued to make observations as he looked in the windows of the residence, tried to open the screens and windows, and finally tried to open the door in a burglary attempt. When police arrived, the male started to walk away from the residence, and you immediately directed police to the male and identified him as the actor in the burglary. Your actions go above and beyond a civilian's duty to assist police, and your initiative and help are greatly appreciated. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks. He did forget to mention one thing. Yeah.
All right.
My father was a police officer in Philadelphia. He was on the force for 28 years. I thought you would have mentioned that.
Jamie Fania? Hi, Jamie. Okay. On April 16th, 2016, it's okay, relax. You're safe here. It's all cops. On April 16th, 2016, at 11 p.m., you were driving on Magnolia Avenue. You saw a fire at 6122 Magnolia and stopped your vehicle. You approached the home and tried to make sure the residents were evacuating. You were able to wake the residents and alert them to the fire. You assisted in helping an elderly male from the home while it was still burning. All the occupants were safely evacuated. Your actions go above and beyond a civilian's duty to assist police and potentially save the lives of these residents. Your initiative and help are greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Lieutenant Hartnett, Lieutenant Nelson, and Chief Call.
Thank you so much.
Bruce Santino. How you doing? Good. On May 17, 2015, Bruce Santino went to check on his son's residence at 2930 Finlaw. When Bruce Santino arrived at the residence, he discovered signs of a burglary. He called the police and then went to check the inside of the residence. When Bruce Santino entered the residence, he was confronted by the actor committing the burglary. He then advised the suspect not to go anywhere.
Teacher mode.
In quotes, not to go anywhere.
Yeah.
He was helped by, oh, I'm sorry, I made an error here. Curran North. Curran North? Okay, couldn't make it. He was assisted by neighbor Curran North, who observed what was happening and assisted Mr. Santino in detaining the male until police arrived. Both your actions go above and beyond a civilian's duty to assist police, and your initiative and help are greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
I know. Well, my wife, she's the one that called, so she assisted me.
What a great husband.
She hollered at me.
Thank you so much.
All right, the Richard Dawson Award is a broad category that involves outstanding performance of duty, even if it's over a period of time. The Officer Richard Dawson Award for Outstanding Performance of Duty is bestowed upon Officer Ray Kern, who during the year 2015 led this police department, which typically leads the state in DWI arrests. He led this department. In addition, Officer Kern has been nominated and received the 2015 award from Mothers Against Drunk Driving for his outstanding work in prevention of car crashes through DWI enforcement. He is invited to attend the award ceremony on Thursday, June 16, 2016, and you are hereby commended for your continued outstanding performance of duty. I'd also like to point out, some of you probably already know him, but Retired Detective Charles Kern, Ray's uncle, is in the back, looking 30 years younger than he is, as usual. He's also a former Pennsauken police officer, of course, and also a past FOP president. Okay. Lieutenant John Nettleton and Sergeant Phil Olivo. Absolutely. Here, hold that some words. Wait a minute, let me make sure they say the same thing, Brady. Yes. Okay. Where's your kids? Come on, bring them up here. Come on. Oh, he's got you outnumbered 3-2.
I know, that's fine.
All right, guys. All right, let me tell you about what your dads did here. I mentioned the Chiefs Award for Leadership. Now, this was kind of a late award recommendation, but what these two guys just got done doing is participating in a thing called the Police Unity Tour, where they got on bicycles that they bought themselves that were very expensive, and they rode from Galloway Township to Washington, D.C. to the Police Memorial over 3 days. What was the longest day? How many miles?
75.
75 miles in a day. I'd have trouble driving 75 miles in a day. But they participated in this tour, and then when they came back, I'm sure the chief could tell you, that's what they talk about now. Their leadership, now there are guys that want to do it next year. Lieutenant Nettleton is already spending money on support trailers and all the things they need to do this bigger and better than everyone else, and we support it in any way we possibly can. Sergeant Olivo and Lieutenant Nettleton have been with the Pennsauken Police Department for the last number of years. You're almost 20 years now?
Yes.
And you're 15. They're both tenacious workers. They lead by example, one as a patrol lieutenant watch commander, the other as a detective sergeant. They continually demonstrate professionalism in both their occupational and personal life, and they serve as a model for how officers should represent the Pennsauken Police Department. They participated to increase awareness for those officers who were killed in the line of duty, and has dedicated their time to riding the Police Unity Bike Tour. The police tour is a bike ride from New Jersey to Washington, D.C. to the Police Memorial. The ride is physically demanding and involves officers from all over the country. These officers also participate in the law enforcement torch run and are examples of what supervisors and police officers and men should be. It's my pleasure. Just a word here. This is George Bowman's little boy, Jeffrey. We present an award in Jeff's father's name every year, and it's an honor and a pleasure to do so. And he comes without fail to support our award ceremony and keep the memory of his father alive every year. As I said, his father is well respected and well known throughout the state of New Jersey. So, Lieutenant Nettleton,
Okay, the Officer George Bowman Award for Dedication and Professionalism.
come on up.
Matt Henkel, come up, please. The said award is given to an officer who best exemplifies the dedication and professionalism demonstrated by Officer Bowman throughout his life and career. Said recipient must demonstrate loyalty to the Pennsauken Police Department and have the respect of his or her peers, supervisors, and community. For the calendar year 2015-16, said award is presented to Detective Matt Henkel. Detective Matthew Henkel has served the residents of the Pennsauken Township as a police officer for over 22 years. He is presently assigned to Detective Division, where his primary responsibility is to handle matters involving juveniles. Detective Henkel has dedicated his time to serve on the executive board of the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 3, for over 17 years. For the last 7 years, he has served as president of the FOP. His work ethic, dedication, and loyalty to the Pennsauken Police Department has earned Detective Henkel the respect of his peers, supervisors, and community. Good job.
Okay. Our final award for the evening before the chief makes a few remarks is Officer of the Year, Officer Richard Capone. I'm not going to divulge what we talked about, but I'm going to tell him a story. We were launching some new technology, and police officers are nothing if they're not a little hard to change the things they do. And it wasn't being received very well. The officers were a little bit leery of the technology we were using. And it came back to me. Officer so-and-so said, nah, he doesn't like it. He doesn't believe in it. He doesn't want to do it. But then I heard Officer Capone doesn't like it. So I called him in, and I asked him to have a frank, off-the-record discussion. And I asked him to tell me what he didn't like about it. I didn't tell him how to like it. I didn't tell him he had to change his opinion. I just said, you know, Rich, I want you to know that there's a lot of people around here that if Rich Capone says it's good, they believe it's good. And if Rich Capone says it's bad, they believe it's bad. I didn't have to say another word. Not only did he embrace the technology, but he led that transition through example. And that's probably the best tribute I can give him. The Pennsauken Police Officer of the Year is an award given annually to the Pennsauken police officer whose performance, dedication to his profession, and character serve as an example of fellow officers and brings credit to the Pennsauken Police Department. For the calendar year 2016, the award is given to Officer Richard Capone. One quick thing, one quick word. All these officers not only received their certificates, but their names are engraved and permanently mounted on plaques in the police department, either in the training room or in the lobby of the police department. So all the officers here you should feel free to show your children and your families where your names are. You know where they are. Chief, would you like to say a few words? Chief John Coffey.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know the guys appreciate it. This is just a small sampling of what goes on during the year. A lot of these jobs took place at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, while most of us are asleep, they're out on the streets. That's got to make everybody sleep a little bit better, knowing that if you hear something in the middle of the night, you call 911, somebody's coming and somebody's coming quickly. At the present time, we have 76 police officers. This year, we will answer over 100,000 calls. There are 33 individual towns in Camden County that are dispatched by county communications. Last month, we answered about 9,500 calls. The next department closest to us was Winslow Township with slightly over 4,000 calls. We are busy, and it's these guys back here that are answering these calls. So I want to thank everybody that came out tonight. These guys really do appreciate it, and we appreciate everything that people do for us. Thank you.
I would just like to echo those sentiments. Our award ceremony is done for this evening, but personally and on behalf of the administration and the chief, you know, I would like to thank everybody for supporting us, for supporting your family member, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case may be. We can't do it without the support of the people that we are friends with and married to. So thank you very much for your support.